Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to start the online lectures for the pediatric department. The schedule has already been sent to the CR, Pratiksha Bang, and I will be taking three basic topics, that is growth and development, nutrition, and neonatology. The other topics have been sent and you have to contact the different teachers for different timing and the classes. And in the chat box, you have to put your roll number for the attendance. So today we'll start with the basic topic, that is growth and development. Growth, for all practical purposes, it means increase in size and number of the cell. So the body growth starts and growth continues, ideally lifelong. As you can know, the hairs and nails continue to grow. So growth occurs daily, though it may not be possible to measure it daily. Development is attainment of various functions, and please remember the development continues lifelong. Even if someone learns 5 minutes before his end of life, that will be the development. So development continues till death. The various periods of growth and development are antenatally starts from the ovum, that is 0 to 14 days, embryo 14 days to 9 weeks, and fetus 9 weeks to birth of the child. The postnatal period, the first month is neonate, first year is infant, 1 to 3 years is toddler, 3 to 6 years is preschool, and more than 6 years or after 6 years it is the school. Adolescent, for all practical purposes, is divided into three parts: the prepubescent, pubescent, and postpubescent. We'll have a separate class on adolescence where you will get the details. So very important is to understand what are the principles of growth and development. Please remember the principles because it will make your concepts very clear. Now it is a continuous process. As we said, growth is a continuous process. So it starts since conception and continues lifelong. The sequence of the growth and development is fixed, though the rate may vary from individual to individual. To give you example, sequence is fixed means once the child is born, after some months he will start sitting, then stand walking, then stand running, then start running, and finally the other activities. It is not possible that the sequence will change, that after birth some child start running, then he starts standing, and then he starts sitting. So reverse is not possible. The another very important principle is growth and development is cephalocaudal in direction. That means the brain grows first, then the trunk, and then the limbs. This we'll understand as we discuss further. The important thing which we have to understand that this growth and development depends on the maturation of CNS. So for any reason, if CNS does not mature, the growth and development will be delayed, as it happens in cerebral palsy or in mentally retarded child. Now, what is dissociation? Dissociation means every individual is unique. So though there are growth and development principles, but this principle, there can be some variation depending upon individual to individual. To give you an example, the simplest example is the children may be sitting, standing, running, but he may be having delayed speech. So if all other milestones are normal, he is not speaking fluently or he is not speaking many things, but something he is speaking. So he may be delayed in speech development, but that does not mean that he is mentally retarded or there is some delay in the development. Mass activity is replaced by unitary activity. If you see many times, if you give something to hold to a child who is an infant, he will hold with whole of the hand. He cannot hold with the fingers. So this is known as mass activity. First, there will be the whole palm will be used, that is known as palmar grasp, and gradually he will develop finger grasp where the fingers can do the activity. So from mass activity to unitary activity. Another important principle is different tissue grow at different time or develop at different time. And this is the example how different tissue grow at different time. If you look at the brain growth, it is maximum in first 3 to 4 years, and by 5 to 6 years the brain growth is over. As we said, it is cephalocaudal in direction, so brain growth will be over by 5 to 6 years. That's why the head circumference will increase in first 5 to 6 years, and after that there is very minimal increase in the head circumference of the child. Somatic growth, usually there are two peaks, first 5 to 6 years and then during adolescence. The gonadal growth, as we know, will occur during the adolescent period. So you can see this graph, and very important is lymphoid growth. If you look at the graph, the lymphoid growth can be as high as 200% around 8 years of age. This is because the child is exposed to maximum infection in first 6 to 8 years of age, because he starts going to school and exposed to maximum number of persons. And after that, once the lymphoid growth is over, it will come back to 100% of the growth. This has one very important clinical significance, that in the age group of 5 to 8 years or 10 years, if a child comes, he may have the lymph nodes more than the normal size. This does not mean all those lymph nodes are abnormal. It can be because of the 200% growth. So you have to keep in mind, and you have to investigate before starting any treatment for the lymphadenopathy. Now, what are the factors which affect growth and development? 60 to 80% growth and development is decided by the genetic or hereditary factor. But at the same time, please remember 20 to 40% is environmental factors which will affect growth. The genetic factor will determine the phenotype, that is parental traits. It varies from race to race. So different race have different pattern. Like we know the Asian race, we have the American race, European race, all these races, they have a different growth and development parameters. Sex, we all know there is a difference in the pubertal spurt in boys and girls. Biorhythm, that is menstruation, many times it follows the age, and duration is as per the maternal menstrual cycle. Chromosomal disorders, you all know trisomy, Turner syndrome, and there are many other chromosomal disorders, so that will affect the growth and development. Paragenetic factor, the child remains for 9 months in maternal environment in the mother's uterus. So many things child resembles to that of mother. Environmental factors are very important, and most important is nutrition, and everything including undernutrition, overnutrition, anemia, vitamin deficiency, and even the maternal nutrition will affect the growth and development of the child. Infections, we all know torch group of infection, and then after birth, tuberculosis, chronic UTI, worm infestation will affect the growth and development. Drugs like tetracycline, hormones, antenatal or postnatal, thalidomide, we all know the sealed limbs occurred due to thalidomide toxicity. Diseases in the mother, pregnancy-induced hypertension, antepartum hemorrhage, diabetic mother, heart diseases, renal failure, etc. will affect the development and growth of the child. Trauma is one of the very important factor, even if the child is born normal, and if there is some injury to the growing epiphysis, there will be shortening of limb, and the normal child, but he has head injury or brain damage in the early life, and it can result into various neurological deficits and mental retardation or cerebral palsy. The socio-economic factors, nutrition, hygiene, we all know now in corona pandemic, we are discussing all this. Education of the child, and of course child spacing and family planning. Everyone will be affected by this measure. Very important factor is parental love, feeling of security and emotional support. Now we are discussing of emotional quotient rather than the intelligent quotient. So this emotional development is very important. We'll again discuss during the adolescent where it is very important. Cultural factors like feeding practices and taboos. So this thing should be eaten, this not to be eaten. All this will affect the growth and development of child. We'll discuss in the nutrition chapter. So malnutrition, rickets, you all know will affect the bone growth. Lack of opportunities, this also we will discuss. Other factors like sexual changes in adolescent, age of the parents. If the mother's age is more, the chances of Down syndrome are more. If the father's age is more, the chances of achondroplasia and osteogenesis imperfecta are more. Now, how to measure the growth? So, what are the parameters for measuring the growth of the child? The one of the most important factor or single important factor is weight measurement or recording of the weight. Now, please remember for measuring the parameters of growth, ideally you have to follow the weight chart. Different weight charts are available for Indian children. WHO charts are there for all over the world, and you can follow any one chart. But please remember, chart is for when we do the detailed examination as in admitted. But in OPD, where the time may be less per patient, it is not possible to chart the growth chart. So many times we have to calculate, and that's why we will know how to calculate in a routine day-to-day OPD practice. So while taking weight, please remember the lever type of weighing machines are preferred rather than those round type of weighing machines which are outdated now. While weighing the child, there should be minimum cloths, and this principle should be followed every time. So the number of clothes should be as minimum as possible so that the weight of the clothes are not recorded. Now, how to remember the formulas? There may be different formulas in different books. Here also I have given 3 or 4 formulas. You can remember these. And after 6 years, the simplest formula is age in years into 3. So after 3 years, after 6 years of the age, you just multiply by the age and 3, and then you will get the expected weight of the child. The height and length can be measured with height scale or with the infantometer. Now the changes at birth, and after that, how to know how should be the expected height of the child. At birth, it is 45 to 50 centimeters, and in the end of 1 year, it is 75 centimeters. So almost 25%. That means half of the birth length will be multiplied, half of the length will increase in the first year of the life. If we divide it further, you can see the pink colored numbers, 9, 7, 5, 3, all odd numbers. So first 3 months, 9 centimeters, second 3 months, 7 centimeter, third 3 months of the first year, 5 centimeter, and 3 centimeter in the last 3 months of the first year or the infancy. In weight also, you can have simple formula. In the first year, it will increase 800 grams in the first 3 months, 600 gram in the next 3 months, 400 gram in the third 3 months, and 200 gram in the last 3 months. So all even numbers, 8, 6, 4, and 200 grams per month in the 3 months. So after 1 year, in the second year, again you can take the half of the first year. That means 25 centimeter in first year. So 12.5 in the second year. So it becomes 87.5. Half of that in third year, that is 93.75. And the remaining half, that is 6.25 centimeters in the fourth year. So by the age of 4 years, the height doubles. In weight, I hope you know the weight doubles in 5 to 6 months, triples at 1 year, and 4 times at 2 years. Simple formula for calculating the height of a child, age in years into 6 plus 75. And this formula you can apply from 1 year of age up to the adolescent part. In girls, at around 2 years, I would request all of them to move their audio. In girls, at 2 years of age,
नाही हे 2 दिवस खायला तर ना एकदमच खायला 4-5 दिवस पुरतात.
okay, if anybody's audio is on, they should unmute it. And can you listen to the what I am saying? So in girls at around 2 years of age, half of the adult height is attained, and in boys around 2.5 years, half of the adult height is attained. Another important parameter which can give some idea what will be the height of the child is mid-parental height. It gives approximate estimate of the child's potential of growth. This is again genetically determined, and the simple formulas for boys and girls is given here. For boys, mother's height plus father's height in centimeter divided by 2 plus 6.5 centimeter. And for girls, the same formula, but here you have to minus 6.5 centimeter from the mother and father's height divided by 2. Okay, another important index is what is known as BMI or body mass index, where weight in kg is divided by height square. The height is to be taken in meters and multiply by 100. So BMI will not go into detail. You can learn how to interpret BMI, and it is basically to know whether the child has normal nutrition, malnutrition, overweight or obesity, and you can remember these figures. Head circumference is one of the important parameter of growth because it indicates the brain growth and the size of the brain. It is measured from supraorbital ridge to the occipital protuberance in the back. Whatever the maximum figure comes, you have to take that as a head circumference. Now at birth, it is 33 to 35 centimeters. And again, if you divide the first year in 4 quarters, 6, 3, 2, 1 centimeter in every 3 months. At 1 year, it becomes 45 centimeters. 2 years, it is 48 centimeters. 3 years, 49 centimeters. And afterwards, about 0.5 centimeter per year. And maximum will be 54 to 56 centimeters. Chest circumference is measured at the level of both the nipples. At birth, it is less than head circumference. 9 to 12 months, it equals head circumference. And after 1 year, it should exceed the head circumference. As we discussed, the cephalocaudal growth. So first, the head circumference will be more, and gradually the chest circumference will become more. Mid-arm circumference is taken between midpoint between acromion process and olecranon process. We'll discuss the mid-arm circumference in detail when we discuss PEM. Upper segment, lower segment is basically a division of height, that is from vertex to sole. So upper segment is vertex to pubic symphysis and lower segment is from pubic symphysis to the sole. This indicates body proportion and helpful if the child has dwarfism or if the child has excessive height. Simple formula again, at birth it is 1.7:1. It decreases by 0.1 every year for first 3 years. So you can remember 1.6:1 at 1 year, 1.5 at 2 years, 1.4 at 3 years. And after that 0.1 decrease every 2 years. So 5 years 1.3, 7 years 1.2, 9 years 1.1, and around 9 to 10 years it becomes 1:1. Please remember all these figures which we are giving for the measurement of growth is being made simplified. Different books may have different thing, but if you want to remember it in an easy way, I have made it simplified not only for this upper segment, lower segment, but even for height, weight, everything. Okay. Teach eruptions we will not go into detail. Again, you can learn from the various books. If you want, you can keep the copy of this slide. And teeth eruptions can be temporary or the primary dentition, and it will be a permanent dentition. So you can keep a record. Again, I have tried to make it simplified year-wise. Bone growth is important aspect because must in forensic medicine the bone age has very important parameter for the forensic things. Not only this, most of the growth and development we decide based on the bone growth because it is affected by hormonal growth, it is affected by genetic, it is affected by the nutrition. It is advanced in girls by about 1 to 2 years. The ossification centers, again, I have given some examples, you can keep it. The simplest way of knowing bone growth is the carpal bones, which you must have learned in the forensic medicine. At birth, there are 2 bones, and after that, age in years plus 1, that is, if the child is 5 years plus 1, 6 bones should be there. And the last bone to appear is pisiform, which comes at 12 years of age. And as we said, it's not only for the diagnostic purposes, there are medical legal significance and importance of age determination. We come to very interesting thing. Every time we say that we should not differentiate boys and girls, there should not be gender discrimination. Now, this gender discrimination, is it man-made or is it natural? We'll see what is the basic difference between boys and girls and who has made this difference. So basically, all of us know that it is XX chromosome in girls and XY in boys. So our body is basically different, and this is made by the genetics, made by the hormones, made by the nature. Because of Y chromosome and because of the 2X chromosome, the hormones are different. We know in girls it's more of the estrogens, and in boys it is more of the testosterone. And this results in different sexual organ growth, internal as well as external. Growth velocity, especially in early life, is faster by 2 years in girls. Ultimate size of all the important organ, if you remember the anatomy and physiology, every organ, including liver, kidney, lungs, brain, heart, bone, the weight is more. That means their size is more or the weight is more. The final height is ultimately low in girls. So though they have the early growth, the final height is less because of the fusion of epiphysis due to the hormone estrogen. Masculinity or muscularity is more in boys, and the girls have more of subcutaneous fat. So again, this is anatomy, physiology, everything you can remember from birth itself. There is a difference between the boys and the girls. It has been observed. Now this observation is there, and many of you may not agree with this, but these are the facts. And why we are discussing these differences, how we should tackle as a human right issue or as a gender discrimination issue. So it has been observed that the speech development is earlier in girls, but they are poor in grammar. Also, the girls have been found to be poor in mathematics. Now, this is all based on the assumption that the boys get more chances. In older days, the boys were sent to school, but girls were not sent to school or not sent for higher education. So, all these differences. So, though these differences are natural and they are not man-made, but at the same time, please remember, with proper opportunities, we can reverse these observations. So the girls can become more advanced in mathematics if we give them the every support. This will discuss again how to improve the growth and development. So this is what you can do to increase the growth and development of the child, whether he is a boy or girl. If you give more opportunities, girls will also become more intelligent and more better performing as compared to the boys. So here is the importance of gender discrimination. So first thing which you have to remember, all children are different. You cannot compare two children, even brother and sister, not only the brother and sister, even twin brother and sister. So if there is a twin, it does not mean everything will be similar. It may happen in movies that if one starts fighting, the other will also fight. If one starts crying, the other will also crying. If one turns, the other will also take turn and get away from the railway track and save his life. So this is not the same, but remember, even twin brother and sisters can be different. Whenever we say, most of the time we say, okay, this child is normal, this child is not normal. But please remember, it is very difficult to define what is normal. There are 100 students in our class. All the 100 you can see, everybody's height may be different, everybody's weight may be different, though they are almost of the same age, though they are all of the same sex. So please remember what is normal. As I told you during the various parameters also, what we have given is a simple way to remember the things. But what is normal, what is a normal height, what is normal weight, what is abnormal weight is very difficult to define. So what we can label is average. It's very difficult to label as normal or abnormal. So what we want, average parameters. Now another interesting feature which will help you in understand growth and development and to improve the growth and development of the child. See, according to this third line, the eldest, youngest or only child, they are more intelligent. Again, this is an observation. Eldest child is supposed to be more intelligent because he is the first child in the family most of the times. So he is given more love and more care. Youngest child, after 2 or 3 children, if there is a youngest child, he is given more love and affection because he is the youngest in the family, or only child because he receives all the love and emotional support from the parent. But as I said, as we are discussing this, if there is overexposure to love or affection, that can also result into overprotection and problem. So please remember, though the general observation is youngest, eldest or the only child are more intelligent, there can be paradox to this. We already discussed that the performance of boys is better than the girls, and again this is dependent on the opportunities or exposure given to the girls. Many times we listen that there is no restriction on coming back to the home for the girls, for the boys, but there is always restriction for the girls that you should come before 6 p.m. or before 7 p.m. so you cannot go out and you cannot have the various activities. So all this restriction will affect the growth and development. Very important thing is, do not predict or forecast anybody's future life. Many times we say, oh, he is very intelligent, he can do anything. He can run a computer at 2 years of age, or he can run a laptop, and he can open up any phone, mobile phone, even at 1 year of age, and he can do anything. So he's very intelligent. So do not predict or forecast, because we do not know what will happen in future. To give a simple example again, as I am saying that we feel proud that my child or my relative who is only 1.5 years can run mobile phone, can run computer, laptop, anything. But the problem is, if he gets addicted to this, he will not try to learn the other things, and then the problem starts. So a child who was intelligent, who was very much good development of the brain, subsequently meets with an accident and he has a brain damage and he becomes mentally retarded or cerebral palsy. So that is very important. We should not predict or forecast. We should stimulate the child to achieve his optimal potential, but do not predict that he is going to become doctor. Suppose he do not get admission in medical college, then all the negative impact will start. Now a child learns from imitation, from model and experience. So we should be a good role model, and he should get good experience, as I said, so that he has optimal growth and development. Whatever he sees, he will learn. So whatever you do in front of a child, he is going to learn. That is the environmental factor, which we said 20 to 40% is the effect on the growth and development. Intrafamilial hospitalism, or if a child does not get emotional support, if a child does not get the opportunities, this is known as if he is in the hospital. So emotionally deprived, where the parents or the relatives are not coming to meet him, or all the parents or relatives are not coming. He is admitted, so he cannot do the maximum activities. So that's why it is known as intrafamilial hospitalism, or the emotional deprivation. We already said emotional quotient is more important in the present era than the intelligent quotient. What is more important? If a child is learning, if he is growing and developing, we should give him a lot of opportunities, give him a lot of experience. So what is important is his interest and way of working. So suppose a child is sitting on a table or on a chair and table. He has opened up the book, but he does not have interest. So book will be kept open, or the laptop will be kept open, but he is not mentally prepared for learning. So his interest in learning, his way of working, the way he completes his homework or the way he does his homework is very important. Another important issue to understand the growth and development, or a average growth and development of the child, is the number of abnormalities. Single abnormality may not be significant. So usually there has to be multiple abnormality, or it should be persistent abnormality. So remember, very important thing. We'll take example again. If a child has murmur at birth or in the first month of the life, the simple cause can be, it can be VSD. It is an organic problem, but it is a single abnormality. There is no other abnormality in that child. He is 1 month of age. He has a systolic murmur, pansystolic murmur, no other abnormality. We all know the ventricular septum develops for first 2 to 3 months. It may not be fully developed at birth. So you'll get the murmur of ventricular septal defect till the ventricular septum develops to the full extent. So there is one abnormality, but it is not persistent. So as the ventricular septum develops, after 1 month, 2 months, or 6 months, this murmur will disappear. So single abnormality, unless and until it is very obvious, like if there is a microcephaly or if there is a hydrocephalus, it's already known that this abnormality is going to persist. Because of the hydrocephalus, the brain damage has already occurred. So single abnormality, if it is very obvious, like if it is sealed limbs, we have discussed. If there are less number of fingers, so it is not going to develop. The finger is not going to develop after the birth. So that single abnormality, abnormality of the ear, abnormality of the limbs, which are obvious, which are anatomical, they are significant, though it is a single or though it is diagnosed for the first time. But there can be many symptoms and signs which will be abnormal only if they persist or if they are multiple in number. The last point in the growth and development for today's lecture is, before labeling, as we said, we should not label any child as abnormal or average. So you cannot label any child abnormal or average in one examination. Take another example, very common example. If you are there in the home and some of your relatives or your colleagues or your friends comes, what happens most of the time, if there is a small child in the family, 2 years or 3 years, who has learned computer or who has learned some poems or songs, usually the parents say, okay, the guests have come, now you demonstrate them how good you dance, how good you sing, and then the child is asked to show the dance or the sing the song. But child may not be interested in at that time. Similarly, when a child comes to the doctor, to a pediatrician, we start asking, what is your name, in which school you go. Please remember, you are new for the child, especially if he has come to you for the first time. There may be some anxiety in the mind of the child. Who is this person? Why I have come? Why I have been brought to this person? Because 2-year-old child may not be knowing everything, or 1.5. So if you ask them anything, if you ask him to make a tata, to wave bye-bye, tata, anything, he may not do that because he is not interested in you. He does not feel that you are that much superior to whom he should respond to all your questions or to all your gestures. So please remember, simple one examination you may not be able to label a child as normal, abnormal, or average. So repeated examination are required. Please, as a doctor, once you become doctor, do not label any child as abnormal in one single examination. Again, if it is a gross abnormality, definitely you can label it. But otherwise, only because the child is not performing, it does not mean he will not perform in future also. So I think this is all for today. If you have any queries, you can ask the questions. Tomorrow, same time, 10 to 11, we'll discuss development, which is more interesting and much more important than the growth, because growth is a physical parameter and development is a emotional and functional parameter. So that is very important, very interesting, and I hope all of you will join tomorrow, same time, with the same enthusiasm, so that we can discuss the most important period in the life of a individual, and that is the development of the individual. Okay, so if there are any queries, please go ahead. Okay, 1 minute.